All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Check Your Six podcast. Me, Warlock Recall, once again hosting, and my sidekick, co-host, Syntax on the other side. Welcome back from the holiday break. Been a long while since we've gotten a chance to talk some Siege. In fact, most of our prep, which is actually extending why we're getting started a little bit later, was actually what we're catching up on for the most part. And both of us catching up on this week's matches from the North American Pro League that kicked off on Monday. But before we dive into those matches, we are going to talk a little CR6 because that's really about how much information and content there really is, just a little this time.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're good. So for the most part, we're settled. There's two matches left to be done actually. So and both of those are in the open division playoffs. So these are that next chunk of teams down from the Premier League. So these are what is that? I don't even remember what teams they are because there was like 64 teams in the Premier League. So this is like 65th through 128th overall. We have Northern Arizona University, number 1 seed, versus Iowa State University, number 4, coming up in the semifinals. The winner of that will go on to play University of Kentucky in the finals. University of Kentucky was, I believe, ranked 6th overall, so these were all teams who were very familiar with each other throughout their playoffs because they were probably neck and neck with each other or playing some very similar opponents along the way. University of Kentucky was 6th. There's no date for either the Northern Arizona University and Iowa State University match, nor the winner of that and University of Kentucky. So we don't know when that's going to wrap up. So that's the open playoffs, and that's fun. Outside of that, the only real news and congratulations that are in order is for Akron, who ended up winning the Premier League versus Simon Fraser. Now, Simon Fraser, I want to give crazy kudos to them. They must have shown some tremendous growth over the league season because they were like 37th after the end of phase 1. They went like 2-2, or they went 3-1 in phase 1, and so that dropped them down to like 37th overall. But then in phase 2 they went 2-2, so they climbed just a little bit and they were like 22nd overall. But then when they got into the playoff or into phase 3, they defeated some really impressive opponents. Let me bring that up real quick because this is the team. Like Akron, they were ranked number 1 the entire time. Basically, they just rode win after win after win. Akron went through Ryerson Black, University of Utah, Ohio State University, UAH Charger Blue. They were 40th, but they came charging on through a lot of other opponents like Ole Miss Red. But then Akron also beat CSULB, their Division 1 team. So that was a team that was the last 2 seasons have been always in that top 8, top 4 kind of position. And so CSULB was number 4, and Akron beat them 2-1. But Simon Fraser, albeit Simon Fraser did lose to Akron, so congratulations, Akron. You won. We're number 1. It was kind of to be expected. But if we dive back into Simon Fraser's history, they were 11th seed overall. They beat Colorado University Boulder Black, who was a huge competitor to Texas A&M and Akron and all the other top 5 teams. CU Boulder Black was 7th overall. And then Simon Fraser also beat A&M Alpha, so RIP, number 3 seed.
Yeah. That was a pretty big rip on our end.
And then University of Louisiana, 38th. esports at Iowa Gold, 22nd, and RPI 43rd, or sorry, Ohio State University, different team, 54th seed. So like, yeah, they played some lower seeded teams, but they also played some really good teams. And again, coming from a team that was like 37th overall to climb up to 11th by the time they got to the final playoffs, the phase 3 playoffs, and then to still take a map off of Akron, which was something that not many other teams were able to do. Like CSULB was the only team that was able to take a map off of Akron during the phase 3 playoffs. So for Simon Fraser to do the same thing and be in that same league as CSULB, 4th seed, and now 11th seed, like, that tells you the growth that Simon Fraser really went through this season. And it's entirely commendable about how they adapted to everything going on.
Oops, my mic was muted. Sorry about that. Simon Fraser. You know, I don't want to say they came out of nowhere, but they came in pretty strong. And we had prepared pretty well. I shouldn't say we. I wasn't playing on the team, but A&M prepared pretty meticulously for the match against Simon Fraser, and they did their research and prepared strats and everything, and came in, and Simon Fraser just outplayed us. They played really well, and they deserve the win. They deserve to get as far as they did because they were an excellent team. So, congrats to them for making it all the way to the finals, and then also congrats to Akron for winning.
I'm going to reach out to both teams and maybe see if we can get someone to come on as a guest over the next couple weeks, just so that we have a little more CR6 context about how this season wrapped up and what they were expecting going into that grand final match. But yeah, both teams clearly played very well. I'm going to dig in and get some more of the details about how that went. And like I said, hopefully we can have one or both of them on as a guest over the next couple weeks while we wait to find out more about what the spring season is going to be like for CR6. And one thing I've been playing with is not just covering CR6, because there's at least 2 other R6 leagues, collegiate R6 leagues, that I'm aware of, that it might be good to get a little more flavor, find out a little bit more about some of the other schools that may not be participating in this league, or even following the Texas A&M Team 4 that was playing in a different league than CR6. So we will try and look into that. I'll see what other kind of collegiate content we can pull up. And while we have these bye weeks, I'm going to look more into even other guests as well, see if we can get a play day going on, and just do some casual streams perhaps.
Yeah, I think the CEA league, maybe if I remember correctly, I think that they are going to be having a lot more casted matches. So I think it might be a little bit easier to keep up with them. Checking VODs and watching matches and all that stuff. So I think it might be a good idea to broaden our horizons and go check them out.
I agree. I mean, it's one thing to dive into these things and try and pull data out of people, but a lot of the community aspect of it didn't seem to be there this fall. Like, it was there last spring, and maybe this was just kind of that test bed of like trying some changes and then get out to more of a broadcasting strategy in the spring. I don't know. I don't have any insight into that, but this fall season was definitely lacking a little bit of that polish that was there from the last season. So I would like any amount of information, any amount of VODs or clips or anything is super helpful for us to have something to digest and talk about. But without some of that, it's just Syntax and I trying to piecemeal some rumors and like scraps of information going on together. And like you are getting fed information because your team is playing these matches. They have some strategy, and they a little bit about their habits and everything. So that made it a little easier to talk about
if
their matches, which might have been why we talked about their matches a little bit more than anyone else, probably.
yeah, if I could say something, if any CR6 staff happens to listen to this episode or watching right now, it's for the community side. We shouldn't have to be playing detective to find out like the stats and all this stuff for a public league. If you want, stats and stuff shouldn't be kept internal. And I mean, obviously you guys aren't doing that on purpose, but they need to be more open, like individual match stats, player stats, stuff like that needs to be more out in the open. Especially like for people like us, and having those stats out there isn't just to have them out there. If you want your league to grow, um, people like us who are sitting here trying to give your league visibility, and it only helps you guys if we can see all this stuff and start broadcasting it and start talking about your league a lot more effectively because we have all this information. I feel like we missed 60 to 70% of a lot of the information that could have been said out there because we couldn't find it. I know that there's a lot of community casters and stuff that do this, but trying to figure out who casted a match is nigh impossible, because what happens is, in your Discord, people have the looking for caster, like, oh, if you need your match casted, DM me. Well, they DM, they get their match casted, but nowhere on the Discord says, hey, I am casting match of X versus X. Nowhere on it. This match is casted in secret, and you have to ask every single individual team, hey, did your match get casted? Hey, did your match get casted? Hey, did your match get casted? Like, and who casted it? And then having to go and find that stuff. I would say have a Discord channel of casters saying, hey, I am casting this match. So then I can go, people like us can go into that channel and be like, okay, I'm trying to look for this match. Oh, here it is, and then I can go and find it in that caster's VODs.
Yeah,
So that
and
may be a good idea to take in place.
we there's certainly a certain amount of legwork that we're willing to do because we care about this game, we care about this league
Mm-hmm.
even, but we're not Richard Lewis. We're not trying to get the behind the scenes dirt on everything and like really trying to understand like from a journalist perspective like that, or at least that's not my goal. My goal is not to be a journalist. I want to, like you said, bring out this league and let people know that it exists and that there's something here to watch and be a part of. But this season was definitely hard to feel like a part of something. It was very much, here's the matches, look for the updates on Battlefy. And it's just like, well, that's not juicy, it's not good coverage. We don't have clips, nothing of that going on. So
You
like
know,
there's
and
so
on
many rules and
Battlefy,
go ahead.
we can't even see the individual match. Like we always see is like 2-0 or 2-1. Okay, well, wow, okay. Like I need to know, or sometimes it just says who won. Like, okay, that's great. I understand they won. How did the match go? I need to be able to click on that and say, okay, you know, these guys like won round one. These guys won round two. These guys won round three. Like, and just stuff like that.
And I mean, for the 90% of like all the back end stuff of like all the rules and regulations and making sure teams were following those regulations. I mean, you found a cheater, and it created consequences in the league, and that was a big deal. So all of the bylaws and rules and everything are being rightly enforced. Can we get a requirement to submit a VOD from at least one player's perspective so that we can see the game? Maybe it's not streamed, but like, there you go. There's your details. Like, I would download a 2 GB video just to go to the end of each map to see the scoreboard so I can start putting together some data. So I mean, I definitely don't want to rag on anyone. Like, I don't know the back ends of what happened with CR6 this year. What was the goal of this last season? But something changed. It was very different, and it was hard to feel like we could really make these players and these teams shine for the efforts that they're doing. But I'm excited to see what happens in the spring. But we're just not going to rest on our laurels and hope things get better. We're going to be providing feedback. We'll have those conversations. We'll look at other places as well just to see how we can benefit all of the schools and the players playing. I hold no allegiance to a league. I just want to do what's right for this community of players.
Yeah, and we're not trying to. I hope that none of this league staff like take this personally. Like we're not trying to rag on your league or anything. We're just trying to help you, trying to make the outside people looking in feel more included in the information about the league, rather than like if you're in the league, you know what's going on. But if you're outside the league, you don't, and you have to talk to people in the league to find out information what's going on in the league. So I don't think that should be a thing. Just cut out that middleman and make the information more accessible to the outside community.
Yep, I mean that's right. Like we can only do so much, and like I come out here, I do this podcast, or you and I have been doing this podcast this whole season basically. So you and I come out here on a Thursday night, try and catch up on some of the matches from the last weekend, and try and put something out there. Now we can do the best that we can, and certainly if we have requests and everything, there's some things that we can bring up, but there's just other things that we can't do because it's not within the capacity or the scope of what the league is able to do at the time. And um I don't know, like it just feels like we could have done better had there been some other decisions made. And so maybe that's what we can look forward to and helping out and define what the like. But I'm also excited to explore leagues like CEA. I think there's the never remember it. The logo is like a
Yeah,
tidal wave, but there's that one.
yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name either. Yeah, there's a third league, but I forgot the name of it.
So I'm going to explore those things. I want to see what
Isn't it
other
like
schools are
Surge or something?
on Surge, Upsurge. There it is.
Upsurge? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So explore them, see how they're doing things, see what else we can bring to the table. That way we can even consistently and similarly cover all three of the leagues. I think that would be fun. Being able to go match for match, call out players if they're players that are across all three, see how hardcore these players are, see how consistent they are. Being able to highlight people who might be um,
Oops.
either challenger league or pro league type candidates, like it's a possibility, and it would be kind of cool to be able to say I heard of them first. But we can't do
Oops.
that
I
unless we
forgot that
know
his face is on my Discord.
we can't do that unless we know who's playing, when they're playing, that they're being streamed, and that there's an aggregate amount of data for each person. But I think that's it for CR6 for so far. I mean, between guests coming in and covering any of the open league matches that get some results, we can track those down. But outside of that, we're down to pro league matches that started on Monday, which there was a number of
Yeah.
good matches, some surprising results, and I don't know about you, but from the matches that I've seen so far, it looks like NA is poised to be a very highly competitive league this season with some of the results that we saw at first. Like, this is also some teams figuring things out, maybe some first day jitters being on stream. It's a best of one as well, which doesn't help the matter. And there's ties allowed, which also kind of convolutes how teams actually fall out and everything. But there is some benefits to just looking at how these teams are playing right now to see who's got that strong start and who's got room to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Pro League this season is, if I could give it one word, is spicy, because with all the shakeups and stuff that happen, like the teams are different, and just a different vibe being played throughout each match, and I want to give I like, especially like what is it, E United, um, them beating Tempo Storm, with them being a new league or a new pro league team. That's pretty big. Um, and then TSM beating Team Rec, which I think is understandable because TSM, like I said last season, TSM is going to come into the season on fire because last season was kind of them getting their team situated, and they got their land or not their land jitters, but their online jitters out of the way, and like they got everything all kinked out, and they ended the season on fire, and I was like, they are going to do good things next season, and they already came in with a win, a pretty big win. They beat Team Rekka 7-2, and all the people on Team Rekka are all veterans. So um, that's
And you
that was big to see.
and you also got to think that Rec was the ones who knocked TSM out of going to Japan. So TSM had a lot of time to think about their play, how they need to improve, where they need to improve, and they actually got time to rest. They got more time than other teams, or than like Reciprocity and Dark Zero did. So that's good for them. Right?
Hmm.
And TSM, like you said, coming out and just dominating Reciprocity 7-2 when Reciprocity is tying DZ 6-6. Like that's kind of telling you the caliber that TSM can play at. I mean then also TSM came out and 7-3 to EU United. So that the perspectives that you had when we were first talking about the new Challenger League teams coming into the Pro League, of a lot of these teams typically are very like aggressive, and the Pro League teams just need time to adjust to it. That didn't catch TSM off guard. And they clearly did their homework on EU United and even Reciprocity, because there was a lot of relevant recent footage about how Reciprocity was playing. So, I mean, TSM did their homework, and that's why they're 2-0 and in the lead of North America after week 1.
Yeah, and also what I was happy to see, Dark Zero beat Space Station. Space Station tends to beat Dark Zero um, a lot online, and watching Dark Zero beat Space Station was some good retribution
And
that was
this
much
is
needed for them. So
after Space Station was coming off of a hot streak. They were looking mean last couple times that they were on stage. So it's a big deal for DZ to come out and beat Space Station.
yeah, and so DZ picked up Eclipse from the old Rogue roster, and then Skiss from Rec, and they have come in and just absolutely made their name known on Dark Zero. Um, both Skiss and Eclipse have just have been on fire, and they've just been. Here, let's actually pull up some player stats from that match. Um, well, I mean, Eclipse didn't do as well as he has been, but Mint, on the other hand, absolutely dominated that specific match. But and then right behind Mint was Skiss. So yeah, Skiss had 1.1, Mint 1.1 or 1.44, and they Eclipse with a 0.79. Now, 0.79 in comparison to Skies. Yeah, someone says saying it's Skies. I Skiss Skies. Yeah, what a potatoes. But Skies. But
Next thing you know, all of these player names are going to have the little phonetic how to say this thing next to their names, and it's going to have the little microphone so you could hear like one of the Pro League casters saying the name.
actually, I think it is Skies. I think I looked it up the other day, and I've been hearing casters say Skies too. So that is my bad. In comparison to the other scores, 0.79 looks bad, but when you look at a lot of other team scores, 0.79 is kind of like in the average range, which isn't bad by any means. But a couple matches before this, Eclipse and Skies have just been absolutely dominant. So I'm excited to see how the entire season turns out with them on the roster. Um, full or what was it, Bosco? That match, I did catch a little bit of that match, Bosco. he's always just been extremely dominant on Jackal, and not because of his utility, but Bosco with that C7E is just an absolute force to be reckoned with. Um, I don't know what it is about him. Maybe it's just his weapon of choice, but Bosco came in and just floored a lot of people with Jackal. So
Yeah,
I
no, I
thought
mean,
that
I
match was
remember
gonna.
he was target banned the last time we really talked about Space Station Gaming, and banning the Jackal was banned against him, and he still had a phenomenal match. I think he actually did better statistically, but it was against a different opponent and everything. But either way, he is a dangerous competitor, hands down.
And honestly, I thought that match was gonna end in a tie for a while, but surprisingly, Dark Zero pulled through in the last couple rounds. So that was a really fun match to watch. Um, and that was on Monday. So if we pull up the matches from Wednesday from yesterday, where are they?
I got them
Wednesday.
at the
Here we go.
top.
So Tempo Storm and LG tied. Now that's I don't want to say that's surprising because I feel like those two teams are kind of on the same level. So watching them tie was not a really big surprise there.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I'm like, okay, well, neither of those teams made it to Japan. Neither one of them were in contention for being relegated. They were just kind of middle of the pack. There you go. So 6-6 makes sense.
yeah, and I'm really disappointed to see that LG dropped Tomas. Um, Tomas is a really good player, and honestly, I don't understand why they dropped. I at least I didn't see personally a statement on why they dropped him. All I just saw that he was dropped, and they picked up Factor. And now Factor, I think he was a sub for a while, if I remember correctly, and then he kind of just took Tomas's place, and they dropped Tomas. So
Yeah, and I mean,
that was
Factor
unfortunate for
crushed it
him.
in that match. 0.92 cost. He was plus
He
8.
did.
I mean, it's just a 2-0 KD ratio. Like, dang, he showed up.
Yeah, yeah. Factor did. He showed up in that match, and I think that really helped them justifying that move. Um, Dark Zero and Team Reciprocity. Watching them tie is a little scary. Um, in terms of future matches because the fact that they tied against Rec and Rec lost pretty handedly against TSM, I don't know. And Bank is DZ's best map. It's been their best map for a long time, and the fact that they tied on that. Now, I don't know if it's because they got new players. I mean, it could be a key factor in why they tied that match or on that map. It could be them working with the new players, and maybe just those two players aren't as good on bank as their last two players, BC um, and Nyx. So that could be a key factor in why they tied on that map. But
Yeah,
that
something was up because, I mean, Skies and Mint dropping significantly down on the stats. I mean, Mint's 0.34 rating. Yikes. Something was not right there. And Hot and Cold showed up. 1.36 rating. I mean, all in all, it was kind of a weak performance from DZ. I mean, Hot and Cold had the highest cost at 0.67. Everyone else was just either barely above or barely below a point 0.5, which is not going to do the job when you have Laxing, Nyx, Vertical, Foxay, and all of them kind of doing work. I mean, when you look at the stats of Disables, Plants, 1vx's, looking at their KD ratios, they just barely outperform them in terms of
yeah,
stats. So
and maybe a key factor in why Reciprocity was able to tie against DZ is because Nyx. Maybe he was able to give us some insight on their strats and bank. So, you know, because next used to be on Dark Zero.
there you go.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe DZ came up with some brand new strats, but I think that would be kind of funny.
And I mean, when you look at the round breakdown on Bank, like DZ 2 rounds, Reciprocity 3 rounds, DZ gets the third round to close out the first half, and then it's just an even split. Reciprocity 3 rounds, DZ 3 rounds, done. Like the only difference is that it looks like Reciprocity had more. Well, no, actually, because they both had 2 wins on defense, diffusing the disable, or yeah, diffuser disable. So both teams were able to get on site, but they couldn't hold it, and then it got disabled. Like there's some weirdness going on there. They're oddly on the same page. Then again, they both went to Japan. They both have like you said, Knicks trading teams. So like there's a certain level of understanding that goes here, and maybe they just know each other that well. And this is two teams that know each other extremely well, who are also quite talented at it at Rainbow Six.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case. Um, I was gonna say something about the operator bands, but I feel like those operator bands are pretty cliche um, for Bank. So Team Rec banned Thatcher, DZ banned Hibana and Echo, and then Rec banned Maestro. I was hoping to see some like really interesting like spicy bans in these past couple matches, but I've still been kind of seeing the cliche band. Um,
Yeah, the new operators, I didn't see them played. Not Kali and
Goyo
Lamai, but
is Goyo and
Goyo.
Amaru. Now
Yeah,
I did see Goyo played actually more than I expected. A lot of the EU teams played Goyo when I watched some of those matches, and I was actually really surprised. Goyo is a very dangerous, sorry, very dangerous operator to play because he's kind of a double-edged sword. Um, in the sense that his shields can hurt your team or the enemy team. So, um,
and as
I think
soon
you
as
have to
you have to
be
retake a site, like those shields that are still standing, now they're going to be used against you. Like that's
yeah
extremely scary.
you have to be very mindful and very tactful in how you place them because not only how you place them but also your individual um, movement around the shields because you do not want to be caught sitting next to one of those shields when like an Astra or Zofia come up and bust the shield down. And catch you by surprise, and then you're standing in a pool of fire. So, um, it was really interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch those matches and see exactly how they used Goyo because I'm actually really interested to see, um, how exactly they played him. I mean, I say I watched the match, but it was kind of sitting on my second monitor as I was doing some other stuff on my first monitor. But I need to go back and actually watch the match and see how they used him. Maybe I can personally use him in game like they do.
There you go. Next week we'll have a highlight on Goyo's usage from week 1, and maybe some insight from how he's used in week 2, and then we can have some guests as well to talk CR6 through.
Yeah, some in-depth Goyo strats. So just get ready for this. But no surprise in the next match, TSM beating EU United 7. Um, I'm not surprised. So they played Consulate, right? TSM banned. It's a pretty typical ban for Consulate. Um, let's see. I think who attacked first?
Uh,
United attacked first, right? So okay, so that makes a lot more sense, right? So because TSM is defending first, they're gonna ban Capitao because Capitao is insanely strong on not only top floor defense or top floor attack in the CEO, because I mean I personally even do it. You know that Capitao can get on the CEO windows and upside down repel, and one person swings in the window to plant, and that Capitao can sit there and fire and smoke both the double door and the rotate into connector, and now you've cut off literally every entrance into sight, which makes him insanely strong when trying to plant and cover plant. Also with garage defense, right? So Capital is insanely strong in garage defense because once you open up those garage doors, you can cut off those rotates into kitchen and pipes just by using smoke and fire. So um, that's exactly
Yeah,
why they banned Capital.
I've been done dirty by Capital way too many times on Consulate.
um, so two interesting bans that I saw was EU banned Jackal, and then they also banned Valkyrie. Now, Jackal's an interesting ban, right? Especially in Consulate because you don't see many teams using Jackal besides Space Station. I personally have not seen a team. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've really seen a team use Jackal besides Space. So I think that was a kind of poorly thought out ban in my opinion. Now a Valkyrie ban actually is insanely good. I have been what is that word? Indoctrinated into the Valkyrie ban cult because I am being convinced more and more every day that Valk is an insanely crutch operator, and it's just I think I've been killed more times by a Valkyrie sitting inside of a window watching her Valcam, just waiting for someone to walk by and then jump out and kill someone
Oh
than I
yeah,
have by anything else. And
even I've had
Valkyrie,
success doing that. Like that should tell you how easy it is to be successful with Valkyrie. And in the hands of these players, that's just it's vying on the side of unfair. Really.
yeah, especially in Consulate because unless you bring in IQ, you're not going to see those Valcams because what happens is the Valk throws those Valcams up in the tree branches. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but there's a big tree
Oh
right
yeah.
outside of Consulate Yellow Stairs. There's just a big ass tree with a million branches, and Val can throw a Valcam on one of those branches, and it gives you perfect sight over everything, and you cannot see it.
But that's
It's
the
broken.
thing on every single map on pretty much any like the majority of
There's,
any upper floor
if you think
window,
about it
you can
though,
just bust it open, throw it out there, and it can land perfectly where you're not ever going to look for that. You're just going to see someone bashed a hole in the window cover, and you're going to be like, oh, someone's going to peek, or someone's looking, or someone's trying to
well,
tease something. Like,
you're about half right there. Anytime I see a broken window, especially like a really high level play, anytime you see a broken window, your immediate thought is, okay, there's a Valk cam out here somewhere. Every single time, and from there, you always check the common Valk cam spots because there's always a Valk cam in a specific spot that they're trying to aim for, and you can find them. Now, whenever there's like a window on a consulate, like if a yellow window is broken, okay, I know that Valk threw a cam out in that damn tree. And I'll spend like 15 to 20 seconds trying to look for that damn camera. And you can't find it. So I just give up and I just let that Valk look at me. But at the same time, it bites you in the ass if you don't have an IQ. So, like, it's vital that you have an IQ on consulate when you don't ban Valkyrie. And I think that's, excuse my phrasing, but horseshit. Uh,
yeah, I mean, because
uh,
I mean, like you're saying, like not banning Valkyrie is like basically banning another attacking operator because you are forcing them to use IQ. You're sacrificing the utility to get IQ so that you can counterpick essentially the Valk. But if you don't know that they have a Valk, you might be wasting the pick, and you just have to make the most of it out of IQ.
yeah. But yeah, anyways, regardless, I agree with that ban. And then TSM banned Maestro, which is a pretty typical ban. No one wants to. If you guys don't know, the reason why a lot of people ban Maestro is because plant time is 7. Um, exactly in those 7 seconds, a Maestro can down you by zapping you. Exactly. So if you start zapping as soon as he starts planting, you'll down him before he can plant. So and that's really annoying to deal with. So that's why a lot of people ban Maestro. Also, his
And
LMG is really good.
I mean, there's you could fill like an entire like hour-long highlight reel of how many times a Maestro cam has just ruined someone's day or clutched around or anything. So it's dangerous. I mean, all of these operators are obviously dangerous, but that Maestro cam seems to bite more people in the ass than other utilities.
Fun example. Like 2 days ago, I was playing ranked with some of the A&M guys, and American. I was playing with American. Um, he got put in a 1v2 situation. He was Maestro. He won this 1v2, not by shooting them, but by zapping both of them. He killed both of them by using his Maestro cams.
That's ridiculous.
he,
I'd
he's
be
like, who needs a
raging on the
gun?
other side.
Oh, anyways.
Last game of the
Um,
week, Space Station versus Evil Geniuses. 7-2. I don't think that there's a surprise there.
Honestly, I would say it's a surprise because I feel like EG should have done a little bit better against Space Station, especially on Clubhouse. Maybe I think that maybe it was a target ban or a target, not a target ban, but like a tactical series of bans to try and get Clubhouse against EG that Space Station might have done. But even still, I think that EG should have done a little bit better than 7-2, especially with the players in their team. So that's a surprise to me.
So I'm actually going to have to disagree with you. Like following like as that match was going on, I was on the bus and I was scrolling through Twitter and I kept seeing the updates and everything. And there are so many references to EG choosing Clubhouse against SSG. And so a lot of people are like, are really? You're really going to put SSG on Clubhouse?" And so there's it's just a whole list of memes on Twitter, and it was glorious. And there's just so many
So
people saying that
so
SSG
EG
is
chose the map.
yeah, EG chose the map.
Hmm. That kind of changes
Uh,
my perspective on the matter.
EG banned Coastline, Space Station banned Bank, EG banned Cafe, and then Border was banned, and so the decider was Clubhouse.
Hmm. Okay. That changes my perspective on the matter. I thought Space Station took them to Clubhouse on purpose because I know Space Station is super strong in Clubhouse. So I thought that was maybe why they kind of like tactically did that. But the
I
fact that
mean,
EG
they might have been
chose,
dancing, or they might have been dancing around each other, just been like kind of a game of chicken. But I'm sorry, when you get to your second ban and you're looking at potentially playing SSG on Clubhouse, I think you stray away from that hard. But then again, if
um,
that's your best map, then you might just have to deal with it.
it is the beginning of the season, and I know that EG, um, they kind of like to be experimental in what they do. So they may have done that on purpose. Maybe they tried to pull out some strats, but it just didn't work out for them.
Shark Anthony on Twitter was saying EG banned Mute on Clubhouse to break up that new SSG third floor roam, second floor bar hold with Castle Vigil Mute, but I still don't think it was the right call. So they might have been testing how to approach that strategy and just wanted to get some experience with it. Like I think that's probably the most reasonable explanation. It's early in the season. They can figure it out. They know that SSG is good on Clubhouse, but they want to try and break them.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I'm looking at the player stats right now. I mean, EG just got destroyed. Like
Yeah, they did.
there's no other way to put it. Uh, half of half of SSG stomped EG. You know, Thinking A with 14 kills, Fultz 13, Rampy 11. Um, yeah.
And that's with Bosco and Canadian not doing well. So,
Hmm.
I mean, Bosco was still like a 0.8 KD ratio, 0.67 cost, and everything, but like he was playing Hibana and Mira because let's see, no, Jackal wasn't banned. I mean, he wasn't going for any comfort picks, that's for sure. Um, but like with Bosco and Canadian not being kind of in that middle top fragging kind of position, like something changed, something happened on that map, but at the same time, just look at the rest of the numbers for EG and nothing seemed to work out for them. Or like Thinking Aid and Fultz. Thinking Aid and Fultz's specialties really came in to cover any sort of strategical advantage EG might have found by exploiting the like trying new strategies against the SSG. But Thinking Aid and Fultz just had them covered, so it just didn't really break the strategy.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Rough though.
That is rough. That is rough on EG's part, but it is what it is. They made their decision. They did it to themselves.
And I believe that puts EG actually in last
Yeah,
after
I
week
think so.
one, which doesn't really mean much, but like it's still something.
Yeah, I think that puts EG in last because I think they lost 7-2. I think the only other team that looked that bad was let's see.
Oh no, EG
No,
was 1 win, 1 loss.
yeah, because EG beat LG, right?
Yep, you're right.
Um, I think Rec should be below them
Yeah, Reciprocity and Tempo are tied, or
for
Luminosity,
last.
Tempo, and Reciprocity are all tied with 1 point. So 1 draw, 1 loss each.
Yeah.
Luminosity, if you go by the round differential, Luminosity, Tempo, Reciprocity.
Okay. But anyways, I think that just about wraps it up for Pro League so far. There's only been 2 days of NA Pro League.
Yep. I mean, that's it. I mean, we're in that not like a transitional time, but we are in kind of the winding up and the winding down for the two leagues that we've been paying attention to. So until we get some more data and more things to dive into, see what Goyo is bringing to the table, see what the roster changes really bring out in teams, see how their favorite maps, favorite strategies end up changing until we have something more concrete to go off of. Our guesses will just have to suffice for now and see how those power rankings sort their way out.
Yeah.
Any last words for the stream this week? I know it was actually we basically still filled the time, so it wasn't a short one, but it wasn't super long one either.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we've already been going for about 50 minutes. I mean, that's perfect. Okay. That works. Um One last little piece of information. You guys see Rogue Pro League now because they bought out EU team. They bought out the old um gosh dang it, I just said it earlier. They bought out the old Giants team. Um the old Vodafone Giants team. And then the Giants bought the Airwolf team.
And
So
so they're going
there's
to try
that.
and win their way back into through the Challenger League.
No, Rogue is back in Pro League.
Yeah,
They just
Rogue is back in
they
Pro League, but
Yes,
Vodafone.
yeah. I don't think they're in Pro League. They they bought the Airwolf team, and I think they are doing Japanese Challenger League. I think the Airwolf is Japanese, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. The only thought I have behind that is it was a business decision. Like, keeper players in that region got a good offer from Rogue, and then they can manage those players maybe better. Maybe it was easier on their infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know really. I don't really know what goes into buyouts like that.
There's two things that I think that the reason that they went to EU is because one, there wasn't anyone to buy NA really, because EU bought out the last free agent players looking to get into Pro League, or that are worth Pro League anyways. Two, I think they wanted to try out EU. I think EU is a little bit more competitive than NA is. I'm not saying they're better. I'm just saying EU is a little bit more competitive because there's a lot more teams. So I think they just may want to try their hands in EU. So
Well, maybe that's something else I can dig into. See if there's more information on that, why they made that decision, and we can talk about that next week.
yeah, that sounds good.
I guess my final message is, if you're a player in any of the collegiate leagues, or if you're a pro league fan, or heck, even a pro league member, a player, coach, analyst, owner, whoever, you want to get involved with the podcast and leave a message telling us about your experiences, giving us some more of that insider info that you've discovered, feel free to leave messages on the podcast at anchor.fm/checkyour6/message, and we are happy to give you credit, give you some spotlight on the next podcast show, and play your message, talk about the topic, and make you part of the show. So that's all I've got. We will see you next week, Thursday, around that 8:30 time. I can't count on my buses. I can't count on my kids staying asleep, and we just don't know how the week is actually going to go. So we play it by ear, but it's typically 8:30 PST. Yeah, PST.
Yep.
I keep forgetting time zones. We just went through that back in November. I'm still not used to acronyms. So 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time ish. We will be back next week for another Check Your Six podcast. Till then, see you later.
See you, everyone.